everyone, this is Ashley Tucker from My Favorite Things, and today I have two very quick and simple cards to share with you. I'm so excited to start making Halloween cards this year. Something about Halloween cards just makes me really happy. I started my first card by taking this die of a haunted house, and this comes from the Haunted House die set from My Favorite Things, and I'm cutting that out of some black cardstock. This die cuts out all of the windows on the house, and it also makes a score line so that you can open the door. There are lots of really fun things that you could do with this die set, but I decided that I wanted to keep my cards really clean and simple. I used some foam tape on the back of the house and I popped it up on a piece of orange Zest cardstock, and then I used some scissors and I trimmed around the edge of that to get rid of any of that excess cardstock. I really love the look of this popped up with the foam tape because that dimension with the windows and the shadows, it makes it look really cool and it actually gives it kind of an eerie feel. Next, I took out this pad of patterned paper, which is called Creepy Confections, and it has some really cute patterns in it. But I wanted a pretty simple pattern, so I grabbed this one, and I cut it down to size, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment right on top of that patterned paper. I picked out my sentiment from the Sassy Pants Spooktacular stamp set, and I'm stamping that with VersaFine Onyx Black ink with my Misty tool. Using my tape runner, I adhered that piece of patterned paper to a piece of steel gray cardstock, which is cut to be just slightly bigger so that I have a little border around the edge. I then took that whole panel and I adhered it to a black card base, which is an A2 size card base. To finish up this first card, I just took that little haunted house that I created and I adhered it onto the card base right above my sentiment. So that finishes up my first card. If you wanted to take this a step further, you could add a few sequins, or you could even put something behind that door. This second card is very similar to the first one. I followed the same layout. I'm just using a different greeting and a different die for the main focal point. This cute little ghost comes from the Ghoul die set, and I cut that out of some white cardstock, and now I am tracing it onto a piece of orange Zest cardstock just so I can get an idea of how big it is. It doesn't have to be perfectly traced. When I cut out this piece of paper that I'm going to be using for a backing on my die, I made sure to cut inside those tracing lines so that when I put it on the back of the ghost right here, you'll see that none of that paper is going to show on the sides. And just like I did with the haunted house, I popped up the ghost on that paper so that the eyes show that orange through and it kind of has this dimensional effect. For my sentiment, I decided this time I wanted to emboss my sentiment, and I took the stamp from that same Sassy Pants Spooktacular stamp set. That set has a lot of really great sentiments for Halloween, and I stamped it with Versamark ink onto some of that orange cardstock and embossed it with a white embossing powder. I picked out another piece of patterned paper for this card, and this time I decided to go with a dark piece of patterned paper. With the first card, I went with a really light piece of patterned paper, and that's because my focal point, which was the haunted house, was a black haunted house, and I wanted that house to really stand out against the background, so I needed a light background. But for the second card, my focal point is the ghost, which is a white ghost, and in order to make that white ghost really stand out, I need a dark background. Again, just like with the first card, I adhered that piece of pattern paper onto a piece of cardstock. This time I used a black piece of cardstock, and then I took that whole panel and I adhered it onto a white card base. All that's left to do to finish this second card is to adhere the little ghost onto the card base, and then to take my sentiment strip that I created earlier and to pop it up underneath the ghost with some foam tape. Super cute and super simple cards, and also really quick. These cards did not take very long to make. I really think that anybody can create these cards, and the great thing about this card layout is that it could be easily translated into any kind of card for any kind of occasion. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed these card designs and that they inspire you. If you did enjoy watching, I hope you'll try out this card design and maybe even challenge yourself to change it up a little bit and put your own spin on it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.